you think?
What a star you are, son. What a star you are. I was just thinking, you don't get to the top of the world. You don't get to the top of the world in anything without lots of talent. I suppose a little bit of good luck, but mostly a mountain of hard work, and it's so evident in your work. You're so prepared all the time. You know, the most handsome guy in Hollywood, of course, he's from Ireland.
My friend, what can we say? But we do think there's something special about you. Are you aware? What is your approach to acting? What are you? You know, you've played all these characters. You're Henry VIII. You're the other King Elvis. You're Dracula. Whatever. What's that like to be?
Well, you know, first of all, you got to think about the people that inspire you. I'm inspired by John Ford, the director John Ford. And somebody interviewed him recently. I saw this interview recently, and they said, you know, so John, how did you do that shot, you know, where you come out of the desert and John Wayne just really rides out of the desert, and he says, I use the camera. That's it. So when people say to you, you know, do you do something that's really, really complicated, or do you do something that's really, really difficult? You trust the people that you're working with. And I appear in films, I don't make them, I appear in other people's movies. And you have to trust the people that you work with. And I've worked with some brilliant, brilliant people. People that are really, really kind. You know, and we're not just talking about the directors and the producers and the people on the higher echelons. We're talking about, you know, some mornings, you know, I walk onto the set of the Tudors, and my driver, Alan from Dublin, will be the one that will get me through the day. You know? And I remember I was very, very nervous. As a kid, I went for an audition for Michael Collins. And I knew that I was going in to see Neil Jordan, and it was like I was 17 years old, and I thought, oh Jesus, I'm going to go in here, I'm going to be embarrassed. And so before I went into the room, a couple of other lads were there, and they came out of the room going, oh, that was a great meeting, I already knew him, and I thought, oh God, they have the job. So I walked out, it was in the Davenport Hotel, and I walked out the door onto the street. And I was 17 years old and I smoked. Don't smoke, by the way. So I walked out the door and I had a cigarette. And there was a taxi outside the door. And the window of the taxi was open, and the taxi driver was talking to somebody else. And there was something on the radio. And I only heard the last couple of words of what was said. And it said, between my finger and my thumb, the squat pen rests as snug as a gun. I'll dig with it. No Seamus Heaney. So I walked back into the room and I said, Neil, I'm from Cork, and if you want me to fucking kill Liam Neeson, I'll kill him.
Brilliant. You said you're from Cork there. Tell us about Cork. Tell us about who your family are, what your background is. But who else is from Cork? Who's got Cork connection? Right. For the Cork fan club there, tell them who you are.
Well, actually, I was born in the Liberties in Dublin. I was 2 months premature because my mother went into labour on the train, and so I had to go to St James's Hospital behind the Guinness Brewery. I had some trouble with my heart, so they brought me over to Harcourt Hospital. So I spent the first 6 or 7 months of my life in an incubator, which was kind of strange because I felt like, you know, I was living in a bit of a glass case. You know what I mean? And so, you know, then I went to school, normal school life, but, you know, school didn't really work for me, so I became kind of autodidactic. And then I moved to the countryside, moved to a farm, where I found peace and quiet. I like living in the countryside. There was something about country people, Irish country people, something about the land that really made me very proud. My family, they don't live in Ireland anymore. They live in America, they live in Louisiana, they live in upstate New York. And my father and my brother, they live down in Spain. They're all musicians. I started playing the whistle and then started playing the guitar, and so, you know, writing music. And then sort of like the acting thing came along, and for me when I first started, this is what I wanted to do as a job, but it was a job because I wanted to get out. Come on, and so like this was the, you know, the typical Irish story. I just wanted to get out of Ireland. I wanted to get out. I wanted to do something. You know, and it's kind of like my mother passed away a couple of years ago. My mother used to drink a bit, and I remember going in to see my mum in the lounge. And there was lots of guys that I used to see in the lounge, and they were young. They used to, you know, talk about what they were going to do. But they were still there when I was 16. And they didn't move off the bar stool, you know. And I wasn't going to do that. I couldn't. And there was something in me that couldn't do that. So then, you know, I've had so much rejection. I went to Hollywood, and you know, I was told no, 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 no. And then some people said yes, and then some other people said no. And then I came back and I did as much work as possible. And then they asked me to play Elvis Presley, and I said, "Okay, Elvis Presley, what are you talking about? I'm from Cork." And I was like, "Am I going to play Elvis Presley? Like, what's the story? Why I'm Elvis?" And I was like, "You know, how am I going to do this?" So I went to Louisiana, and I had 5 days in Louisiana to learn how to be Elvis Presley. So, you know, I went and I did the best job that I could. And then, you know, I've had ups and downs, you know. I've fallen down as much as I've gotten up. I think you do that in life. But, you know, I've always remembered, you know, at the core of it, that being Irish is special. You know, I mean, it's like, you know, I'm not putting down sort of like, you know, any other country. We're wonderful. London's been sort of like wonderful. There's lots of wonderful, successful people here, but God, it's special being Irish anywhere in the world.
And it's a very special night for us, you being here. For all the ones who said no, 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 we say, Jonathan, yes, yes, yes. Jonathan Rhys Meyers, thank you. And thank you, Michael Flatley as well. Thank you very, very much indeed. Beautifully, eloquently.